obviously have won with Chovy, with Pace, with Lance. You can now go back to Griffin for some of these players. Delight was obviously on that roster in 2023 together with Pace after he had broken out of Bro Prison.
And we had Bro here today as well. So technically we had Sword in the building and Viper, Doran, Chovy, and Lehens.
There you go.
It's brilliant. We just need Tarzan to come home, for goodness sake. And then we will have Griffin all back together again, theoretically, in another day, depending on where Tarzan does go. As first pick, going to be the Corki. Let's go through the bans here just a little bit. I didn't really quite do this table setting like I'm supposed to, but it's the last game of the season. I'm sure you guys can forgive me. Leona, Ashe, and the Cassante taken away. The Maokai and Rumble, which have been pretty standard bans, are going to be the first ones.
I was afraid that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, to me, the previous series, which didn't have stakes, was also the final series that those two teams will play. These two teams are reasonably our two favorites to make it to the final.
Yeah.
And obviously, as I'm sure we'll be getting into during the POC state as well, there are some very strongly held beliefs as to what an LCK final is and has been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So we might be tied to that. But right now, these two teams don't want to really give anything away, and I don't think we're going to see anything crazy. I don't think we're going to see anything too creative out of them as a result. So, yeah, Peanut might self-counterpick Sejuani into Italy, which is a dreadful matchup, but it doesn't matter because he's Peanut and he is going to try and make the best of it. He's going to sync up with Delight, and it's going to be fine. I feel like the
2-3 for me could have just been Zyra Renekton, and you would have felt all right about it. Zeker is just hovering as many champions as he possibly can. Will eventually land on the Zeri. And the way that he was doing that makes me feel like we might have some more experimentation, but we'll see exactly where things are going to go. Right now, it is 2 range champions and a Sejuani, the things that make us the most sad. As Chovy has been playing a lot of Tristana at the moment in solo queue, of course, we know this guy really does like taking the Tristana into the Corki matchup, even though it has gotten worse. He's still feeling like he's going to be able to get it done. Tristana and the Nidalee hasn't always been our favorite, but it's GENG, so I guess we'll just deal with it.
Yeah, not super excited draft so far. There are some flex potentials. This could theoretically be Zeri mid for Zeka, and Doran could be playing the Corki top.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's like the one flex angle that you have. For GENG, they're going to be looking to solidify this lineup with a good amount of CC. Right now, they have all damage, but very little setup. We already have seen the Cassante and the Leona banned by Hanwha. I imagine that they're going to kind of continue in that vein. Because for them, they already have the Sejuani, so Sejuani alone, I think, has struggled as hard engaged into some compositions, but generally you can rely on that pretty well. And GENG, they need CC, right? Like, the Renekton ban makes sense given that Nidalee is on the board and you don't really want to deal with that. That's just not very fun and interactive gameplay. But if they don't get CC, so many of the fights are going to be so reliant on just hitting these skill shots, which, if you already look how mobile that core here for Hanwha is going to be insanely hard. The Rel, to me, is probably the highest priority here for GENG because it has so much team fight setup. Nautilus is another one just because it's really good into Zeri specifically, and I wouldn't be surprised if GENG or Hanwha Live Rider end up taking one of those two away. But that does leave the Rakan open for Delight, which maybe that's what Lehens wants to go to. And yeah, there we do see the ban of the Nautilus.
I think Rel does make a lot of sense here, though. Rel Misfortune has been probably the most popular pairing as far as Misfortune lanes are concerned. Last pick Malphite is now very obvious and face up, and so we'll see what Hanwha Life Esports do to mitigate their rockability.
Nice.
Yeah, don't pick too many scissors. Gwen would not be the choice. Yeah, Gwen actually has a great matchup into Malphite. Isn't that just wrong? Isn't that wrong in like every way? What will we
think what paper is? Paper is what, like Papercraft Anivia?
Yeah, or like Mummy Amumu.
Sure.
Something like that.
It's just Gnar. It's Cookie Cutter, Atlas.
Yeah.
The Gnar comes through. It's probably going to be GP then from Keen. There could be an angle here for a Cannon, which has really struggled in terms of general power in the meta, but we do know that it's a good matchup in the Gnar. It also, I like having AoE damage when the Rakan is in play. Ox always talks about this as well, but
Ah, Nasus.
I need a moment. Because I'm baffled. We've seen the Nasus specifically as a counter pick into the cannon. And that in theory makes a lot of sense, right? You can shrug off a lot of the early damage. Eventually, cannon can't really stat check you. You can just stack early, and then post 6, you have a lot of extended all-in power. But at the same time, when you think about it, Nasus is so insanely good into any AD carry, really. And I know that AD carries have been so insanely strong recently. Widow is just super broken. Does he provide setup? No.
Sort of.
Well, yeah,
it
Widow,
makes
I guess,
it harder to do walk.
Yeah, that's true. And we all know walk is one of the best abilities in the game.
Turns it into trudge.
I can't wait to see this. Build as well, wonder what's going to be. Can either go towards something like the Triforce and then the second item, Frozen Heart. Something we see often when you get a lot of armor. The passive is obviously insanely good into the composition that is here for Hanwha Life. And it's going to make their life pretty hard, I think, because this Nasus is going to be an absolute raid boss come mid-game.
He's going to be a monster. I'm looking forward to seeing how well he's going to be able to stack up as well. We do often see the Spirit Fire being the early max just to make sure you can take control of the lane.
2 dogs in one day?
I know, it is kind of crazy. Definitely an older dog in this one.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll see whether Keen has learnt some new tricks as we hop onto the rift for Game 1 of GENG versus Hanwha Life Esports.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, self-nitpick here just a little bit. It's actually Hanwha Life Esports versus GENG. I apologize. Should have said it in the correct order, but there you go. For all intents and purposes, it's the same. Zeka and Chovy facing off here in this mid lane. The more things change, the more they stay the same. This was our most common matchup at the beginning of the season. It is now our most common matchup at the end of the season.
Yay!
Yeah,
It's back.
well, it's not the most common, but it is what we have in today's game. It's the most common of this game. There you go.
As we do have Keen, obviously, as you pointed out, Spirit Fire is very, very strong early. Imagine it's going to be the classic where you go like 3 points and then go from there. There was also, which is a build that definitely got a lot weaker as the season progressed, but initially you saw even people going like Faded Ashes Rush, and then you went like Blackfire, and you went Emax with First Strike, and then you could just kind of print gold, but then First Strike got nerfed. And I imagine Keen is just going to go for some very early arrest, which is very effective, as we see the Scorch, as well as the Mana Flow ban, so no surprises there. Eri going to really help you, because Mininar does actually hate having to deal with ranged threat, which the E can definitely provide. And then you just scale, and again, this is a full AD composition from Hanwha. Yes, there is some magic damage. Yes, there is some true damage on the Corki, but all things considered, Keen is going to be very tough to kill if you also take into account the fact that we have that Nidalee as an early laning phase here, looking good for Viper in the Light in these first few traits.
Yeah, and I think Keen probably still wants to end up building like a Spirit Visage eventually or something like that, but otherwise he can just build armor.
Oh, yeah.
And be so incredibly happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as I said, I imagine it's going to be Triforce into Frozen Heart.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what he ends up with. It's not like...
Triforce, Frozen Heart, Randuin's, and then the Immortal.
Yeah, well, that sounds pretty good to me, Atlas.
He does have to get there, and that's the difficulty for Nasus just in general. They require a game to continue. The thing about GENG that is pretty handy here for Keen is the fact that every other lane is pretty good. So they should be all right with being able to buy as much time for their doggo in the top lane as they would like, as Chovy does have shove in this mid lane. Zeka still dealing with a little bit of Chovy's harass here. I wonder how the trade went not so well, just because we have seen Tristana's kind of abused in this matchup in the early game these days, as Lehens does still commit to the crash down, as Viper Delight going to be moving away. Level 3 is gained here by GENG a little bit earlier, as Canyon is moving in. I think hops away from that ward as well, as the spear is going to miss. Needed to get it in there before the minion wave conga line through, not quite able to connect it. Hanwha will be okay for the moment, but presence known here of Canyon in this area. going to help out as Viper gets a bit of a heal. And so far, so good here for Hammerlife Esports. Bottom lane that are just trying to weather the storm as best as possible. And Peanut here towards the top side, seeing what he can get done. The hop is good, and Doran will have the Mega Gnar available. Gets the wallop down as well as Keen. He might be able to flash it, but he does not go for it, as there is first blood going over to Peanut.
Oh man, Keen initially looking at the positioning on the map, because we saw Canyon taking the bot side scuttle. Reasonably, you know, Peanut's towards that top half. I think maybe overestimating how far he could be up the lane. Not going to be the end of the world in terms of his individual laning phase. Kill going over to Peanut actually, I think, kind of bails him out in that regard. Yeah. Would have definitely been much worse if the kills had gone over to the Gnar. But him still missing out on a bit of XP, him having the TP like this is quite rough. And again, you know reasonably that Peanut's going to be towards that top side of the map. So, like, if anything, probably would have wanted to flash there, but with both flashes available for Gnar as well as for Peanut, you realistically just end up dying there, I think, no matter what, with the position that you're in the lane. So, not the end of the world, but definitely a big early win here, and Peanut making his presence known.
Yeah, that's Delight.
Hello.
Moving towards the mid lane as well. Zeka winning out on that trade very, very nicely. And there are a lot of minions making their way forward, so it looks like things are going to remain very, very even as far as farm numbers are concerned between both Chovy and Zeka. And I think that Tristana, it's going to be all about getting as many items as you possibly can and scaling into the late game. So this early laning phase, not something that I think GENG are too worried about as far as Zeka getting in that extra harass, as Chovy misses 2 minions, and that probably makes a lot of people sad because normally he gets all of them. As Lahen's on a ward, we'll be able to get a control ward down as Canyon looking for his Gromp here towards the bottom side. Sort of the last camp that he has up and available. See what he's actually going to do with the rest of his time. As most of his lanes are just kind of shoving. Outside of the top side where Keen is being pushed underneath his turret. Probably happy about that just because Nasus getting caught in a long lane can feel a bit sad. And Peanut is towards the top side of the map looking for these first grubs. As Canyon will be able to move on over. See what he can do about taking 1 or 2 of these down. It looks like Peanut might be able to sneak one away, though. Definitely good news into this Nidalee.
Oh, 6.
Yeah, level 6 going to be gained here by Peanut, and Canyon realizing that he just has to get out of there. Spear not going to connect either, as Chovy could be solo killed, but the Buster Shot is going to keep him alive. Keen moving on in, does have Fury of the Sands, but it looks to me like it's going to be 3 grubs going over to Hammerlife Esports. And they are really controlling this early game.
And I want to highlight something that we've noticed, and it's always hard to know what is genuinely just how people work, which is that once you get a guaranteed first place, once you're a team that is very clearly gearing up to playoffs, I think we always see the top team kind of, you know, take a little bit of a more laid-back approach, and more mistakes start slipping in. And this might be one of those, as Peanut still has his ult, still has Flash.
Yep, rockets coming out. Zeka does not have a whole lot of mana, but he doesn't need it to auto attack. Still just going to flash on over. Gatling gun at the ready, and that is a 2nd kill for Hammerlife.
Yeah, and as I was saying, GENG have definitely looked a lot sloppier, say like the second half of round 2. There's been a lot of games, which is why I think Pace has actually gotten this many POGs, where he's had to do some genuine lifting in the team fights. And in general, I think there's been individual members of GENG, depending on the day, depending on the game, that help him with that. And I think Lahen's team fighting is still there. But right now, GENG definitely look like they give way more openings than they did earlier in the split, as they'll be able to just strut that one off.
Yeah, I was going to say, the walk strategy somewhat improved on your Misfortune.
Movement speed's so good, man. It's always fun to watch. But yeah, GENG definitely getting exposed a little bit here, and Peanut, he gets it, man. He knows so active. He really does. Chovy thinks he can just push this wave out because Zeka is low, doesn't have mana, but guess what? Boar is here.
Yep, Arctic Assault going to connect, and then Flash is invested here by Zeka, so there is at least that. Chovy does hold on to his.
Yeah, does have to. If he doesn't, then Chovy walks to the wall and then probably flashes over, and you're not sure if you're actually going to be able to pick him up, as it is indeed, as we saw, 3 points in Spirit Fire, and then now going into Q-Max here for Keen. And this is the type of composition, particularly when it comes to Keen, I think, and Pace, where you want to get at least level 6, but ideally want to get to your first time, want to get to mid-game. But right now, GENG's play doesn't look particularly inspiring. Canyon hasn't really been able to have either an impact or generate a lead, and that's really big because that's really what you picked the
Italy for. Yeah, and so hasn't quite been able to get off the ground just yet. 1,400 gold is going to be the lead here for Humble Life Esports. Most of it just because Peanut has been in the better positions across this map.
Yeah.
It has been criticism that we've had for Canyon in the past, to be perfectly honest. He has had some games where he just kind of AFK farms and isn't able to have the same impact as his opposition. Peanut is not one of those players that lets you get away with that almost ever. And so right now, the jungle does kind of belong to him. You can see decent lead being built for Doran towards the top side of the map as well, as you can see, almost towards his Trinity Force. Keen still a decent ways away from that. First Drake will go over to GENG. Second one going to be an Ocean here this game, so still a chance for the Chemtech Soul. So we're going to require Orcs to make sure that he pays attention, isn't too sausage. As GENG now will move Canyon towards the top side, probably going to head towards the Krugs, and then see what he can actually impact. As this is the last bastion of hope for GENG, honestly, in this game, and that is the fact that Pays and Lehens are actually in a pretty good position in the bottom lane.
Good and up about a wave, but MF is definitely the more early to mid-game dominant pick. Like you pick her both for having a good amount of prio in the laning phase, and then also her team fighting prowess. But when you get to actual later stages in the game, which is where GENG has generally done well, is Doran.
Yeah, Wither is already down on top of him. Fury of the Sand, so the King to tank up this turret, and he's going to grab some stacks for his trouble as well. And that is going to be GENG finally on the board with a kill onto their Susan.
Zeka is just dunking on Chovy right now. He's, we'll see, Peanut.
Oh, there's the Glacial Prison. The buffer is gorgeous. The flash is going to come out. They get everything out of Chovy, but he does survive as Lehens is like, I am here. And that is going to help allow Chovy to pick up this experience and farm underneath the turret. Very nicely done. Canyon going to even out the grubs, and GENG kind of coming alive in the last minute or so.
This is exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the game, where GENG, even if they struggle in the early game, you're always only a couple of plays away from them retaking control. And this is by no means enough, right? There's still gold lead for Humble Life. But this sequence, topside gank into immediate setup here. And I understand why Doran feels very safe, because he is about to turn Mega, but then there does get hit by the spear. The damage, even for this Mega Gnar, is enough. The Wither value comes through. And one of the big benefits when you have the level 6 available for the Nassus is that your ult just genuinely shreds people, right? So the fact that Doran is tankier doesn't really make a whole lot of difference if he is within that zone. And then Canyon turned that into grubs. And then the fact that Lehens is able to roam up also means that the fact that the Light was looking for a continuation in the play doesn't end up actually making a huge difference. In this first game, it really is... Really, as I think you'd expect between these two teams, this is very slow, very calculated.
Yeah, methodical gameplay.
Yes.
And last time these two teams met up as well, especially in Game 2, it was kind of what felt like Hanwha's game to lose for a large portion of it, until GENG just decided from about the third Drake onwards that they were going to win.
We can even go back to when these two teams met in like the upper bracket. That was the Chovy insane 1v9, right? Like in spring,
yeah,
upper bracket finals. Right now, gold lead, about 900. Nothing too riveting in the grand scheme of things. Early Drake lead for GENG, but it's only a single one. Grubs free to free. And then it's going to come down to how these fights do play out. And that's where the team fighting power of that Rel and MF, I think in particular, is going to be big. And does Humble Life make the right calls? Because one thing I do not want to see is Chovy be left alone in the side lane when Humble Life over-index on an objective, into him just suddenly being up like 20 CS. Because that has happened before, as...
Yeah.
Yeah.
He pressed Q on the Doran.
He doesn't have Triforce yet.
Not quite. Does have a Sheen, so at least it's getting impacted by something. As Canyon was looking for Doran. Doran is going to walk as far away as possible. We'll keep him alive for the moment.
It's a good amount of stacks, Atlas. That's 220 already.
Not doing too bad. We'll have to keep our eye on it. And Viper and Delight still just chilling. Everything is kind of okay as far as this matchup is concerned.
And for me, Nasus is one of those champions that, like, basically from this point on until, like, what, 30, 35 minutes, he is really hard to match. I think eventually you get to the point where Corki and Viper are gonna have enough damage when they get like 3-4 items to actually chew through, but right now that's not the case. Just need to respect because they don't know where Peanut is. I wonder what the trade is gonna be here, because as I say that, look at Chovy. I think they know that this Herald is being taken, and immediately GENG fully committing to the cross map here.
Yeah, everyone is in this bottom side of the map. Lahen's already cleared out whatever vision was in the area.
This is just going to be gone, isn't it?
Yep, he can give the Primal Surge over to Chovy. And
one more wave. Oh, do they need one more wave?
Well, I think if they are going to stick around and try and take it, no, they're not going to even need to worry about too many turret shots. As yeah, Doran and Delight, they will be able to get here, but it is not enough to actually save this outer turret. So that's first turret blood. Now Extendo Beam going to be avoided here by Pays. Should be able to hold on to this mid wave. As you can see, the charge is still going to come through, and the turret will be taken out. So the Rift Herald is traded for first turret blood, but is still able to grab a turret for themselves. So Humble Life Esports will hold on to a small gold lead, and Peanut is also possibly able to take this dragon away as well.
Yeah, this is definitely a favorable trade for Humble Life, right? They're able to, yes, the gold isn't as ideal, but mid lane turret is way more valuable than a bot lane turret is, and they're going to get the dragon as well. Keen is going to get this. I don't really think there's anything that we can do about that. And that means that he's going to get a lot of gold into the pockets as a...
That's a Hex Tech, Sol. That's that's the other tech. This is the dangerous one, because now everyone's going to have to fight for all of these. Hextech Soul going to be incredibly valuable. Each Drake going to be very valuable as Keen.
There it is.
Valuable. He does have that Trinity Force now completed. Doran did finish off his Cull. Certainly good news, but he's going even with a Nasus, and that often feels bad if you're not the Nasus, as now Lahen's could be in trouble. Speaking of feeling bad, he is going to be taken out here. Permafrost a little bit too powerful, and Viper has delivered his first kill of the game. And maybe the conversation about Zeri moments and things like that might need to happen. It's been a bit of a slow start, so we haven't needed to worry about it, but could certainly be a factor in this game.
And right now, we're starting to see GENG again. Some of these corners are being cut. The right call being made not to flash there. Again, it's one of the scenarios where even if you flash, you probably die and you lose a lot of value. But GENG, the early games have been a bit of a step down from where they were before for Humble Life. I think it's also important not to be kind of... don't have a false sense of security, right? Like, yes, you're getting some picks, but the gold is still basically dead even. And GENG, their team fighting is something we have talked about with great reverie very often, as we do see here the Warden's Mail done, and as mentioned, Keen probably gonna go, as you already pointed out, for go in, like Warden's Mail or a Frozen Heart into the Randuin straight up.
I would like the Randuins just because I like the extra CC when your Wither isn't necessarily always going to be up, but I don't really mind. You could even go third item Spirit Visage and even kind of be alright with that, just because it does synergize so well with Siphoning Strikes. Just makes you kind of feel even more immortal. But I don't know how much healing reduction there is going to be from Humble Life Esports. Not exactly going to be very many Oblivion Orbs picked up, as now Canyon not quite finding the spear. As Chovy is taking a red buff, Peanut is going to move on to Vision. And I just don't know whether he wants to try and fight the Blade of the Ruin King Chovy right now, as Doran could be in trouble. Spear is going to go wide, but look at the Q damage. It is ridiculous, and Doran does hit the Mega Gnar, but Canyon's still going to be able to pounce on top of him. Viper trying to fight this one out as the Fury of the Sands has already come through, but Keen is a monster. And he isn't going to be going down anytime soon. Canyon once again looking for these angles as the inner turret is going to get bonked aggressively by Keen. And will fall down.
That's a raid boss. Atlas.
Yeah.
Well, right there. Viper's like, oh, guys, no. Abandon.
It's one of the Anubises from Encourage. Those things, they're really dangerous.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with the Jackal, as it was shown there by Keen. That's an inner turret. And now for the first time, I think, GENG actually in the gold lead. And it's just one pick onto Doran, which I can't even really fault him for it. Like, he was underneath his own inner with teammates in the vicinity.
Yep. And
like
he even dodged the spear.
Yeah, this
and had flash.
And his Narbar was almost up. Like, this feels like you should be fine. And then I think they make the right call to just be like, no, let's not walk up to Keen. And this is going to continue. Like, this Nasus is going to remain an insanely big power point. And I'm kind of interested to see to what extent GENG can leverage that to get these dragons, right? Because that's the real thing, is that if you do get a Hextech Soul, I think that on paper, the Humble Life Comp, when it comes to front-to-back teamfights in the late game, way easier to play, right? You have enough dive to threaten the misfortune so that you just can't get free ults off. And GENG, they have decent front line, but eventually they're going to start getting shredded through. If you get Nidalee and Tristana with a Hextech Soul, that does really change the equation.
Yeah.
And you got the Nessus E armor shred as well, so it's not even like Peanuts and Doran are going to be able to tank a whole lot.
No, I think that Keen is going to be a very, very large problem that they're already struggling to deal with.
And now he's maxing Wither instead. Keen.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Big fan.
I feel like Spirit Fire is just there for the first few levels to allow you to have some sort of laning phase, and then you get a Trinity Force, and then you don't really care about putting Spirit Fire points in anymore. You don't really require it. Can sometimes mess up your ability to last hit everything with Q, which is so incredibly important. And so, yeah, Keen is very, very close to finishing that Frozen Heart. That is going to be available for this fight if he does want to teleport back in for it, but probably just going to stick around as Peanut going to get possibly caught out a little bit here. He is very tanky with the Frost Armor and the Aftershock as he looks for the Glacial Prison. Connects it here as they just blow up Lehens. Not going to have their Rel available for this fight. Canyon going to miss another spear as well as Chovy's taking the enemy blue buff. Of course he is. And they might just be giving this one up.
Oh, I was just thinking about this. Look at the spikes on Anwa as well. 2-item spike for Corki, 2-item spike for this area as well.
Yep, spears are still coming in though. Keen is still very scary. Teleport to come down now for the Gnar as Peanut. He's really low. That is going to be the steal away by Canyon. They're going to try and focus Keen, but I don't know whether that's a good idea as that's another kill. And now Chovy, it's flashing forward, finds another reset. There's another one as the double comes in. 280 carries left remaining for Humble Life Esports. They've got no one to stand behind, and somehow GENG just decide to win.
And Lehens, he might have slept for the alarm for this one. Not really woken up just yet, but the rest of the team, Atlas, they are very much awake, and they turn they turned a pick on Lehens into a dragon, a one-team fight, and a Baron. That's not fair. That's not cool. You can't do that.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you put a Glacial Prison into Lehens. Yeah, joke's on you, but now you've got Glacial Prison on cooldown. So we're going to ace you, steal the dragon, and get Baron off the back end of it. That's how that math works. Let's see how this one works.
So I got to take another look at this. One part of this is I think that Doran TP's in with the Mega Gnar, but he's not actually able to influence the fight. So the dragon goes over. And then Doran is alone in the pit. Pace had a really good zoning
bullet time,
Yeah, and no, they don't have any cooldowns left to stop him. And then, yeah, Chovy smells blood in the water and shows us some Tristana.
The sidestep on the grand entrance at the beginning of that fight as well. Really, really impressive stuff from Chovy. We know that he's pretty good at the gaming in general, but always good to see some examples of it from his perspective. As now GENG with a Baron and a Nasus. Taking turrets and doing side lane stuff is not going to be an issue. Looks to me like he's also going to go towards the Spirit Visage as item number 3.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either.
Or as you already mentioned, and not only, funnily enough, it's not only the healing that you do yourself, right? The lifesteal, but it's also Canyon's heal.
Yep.
That's like a lot of value there. And yeah, now they're sieging with a poke comp, and they can just Spirit Fire, they can use these Nidalee spears.
And Delight cannot face check. He is going to get a ward in there, but that is immediately going to get blown up. And GENG are going to do their very best to try and suffocate them out here as Keen's going to flash the Glacial Prison. Peanut is still looking for more, but taking so much damage from Pays. Lehens and Chovy trying to get themselves over as Life realizing this is not their angle to fight right now. And GENG, based on this, just get free reign to head towards this mid lane, and they are just going to continue to try and zone them from the area. Canyon chasing the light out of there. And GENG, can they get even more? Is this just going to be an inhibitor turret going down already? The Rebel Brown power play already up to 2.3k as Keen, Fury of the Sands, comes out, and the Battle Dance has to be employed. GENG, they will be able to take down that turret. This was all because they moved on in when they didn't really have the ability to do so. Doran's going to go down as well. The inhibitor's taken out. And without Doran, is this going to be even more sieging for GENG? It's only 24 minutes in, guys.
Yeah, they don't really need to, as the bounties are now up. And this is exactly, coming to the days when we're talking about Life. I think this team is insanely strong. But I gotta say, Atlas, you can't make any mistakes against GENG, and Life are learning that. Canyon might have to flash me. No,
he's just going to turn around and activate some red buff here onto Peanut. Nothing they can really do. And yeah, you're exactly right, Chronicler. Like, I don't think it matters which team you are. If GENG gets like any sort of opportunity like this is the problem. It looks so much worse. There are a lot of other teams that would have won a skirmish around a dragon and been like, oh cool, we have a dragon. But GENG are like, oh cool, we will take your entire base, the Baron and the kills that we can get, and we'll also take the rest of it, and where's your lunch money? Like, that's what GENG does when they get any sort of entryway.
Looks to be Jack Show.
Oh, I like that even more.
Yeah, it's going to make him extremely beefy. He does have 500, well, not, he has 470. 500 is a bit of a stretch, but we are only 25 minutes
in. 475 at 26 minutes is not bad at all. Make that 486.
You know, if I get the excuse to vote for a Nessus, I'm taking it.
Oh, yeah.
I had Neferi earlier today.
We voted for Clear when he played Nasus, right? That time in Challenger, so obviously we're going to do it here. Unfortunately, Morgan didn't win when he played it earlier in the season, as Peanut's going to go down. That is going to be another kill over to Chovy as Viper takes so much damage. My God, Keen stands in the front. He does a ton of damage himself, but then he's got the artillery cannons in the backline as Chovy's dancing forward. He'll find the reset on the jump as now Doran not going to hit Mega in time. The immediate explosion of both the Corki and the Gnar. 2 Yordles for the price of 1 when it comes to that ultimate. And this game is done and dusted. GENG, our favorites for the final, and they are looking absolutely like that in game 1 of our final match of the season. There goes the Nexus. GENG go up 1-0 in the series.
Really a game that Life is going to look back to, and it's very easy to pinpoint what went wrong. But I think you can see with the look on Peanut's face, it's a lot harder to figure out, like, what do we do about that?
Yeah.
Because,
I mean,
there's like, Doran, I think, had a really rough game. That's okay. You know, the Gnar obviously being a very obvious weak point here in this one. But just the killer instinct on GENG, the moment that you show a moment of weakness is like, the faces to me tell it all. Like, I feel like the early game's going good. You have a really strong team fight composition. You scale well. Yeah, and you lose the game.
Yeah, unfortunately, they killed Lehens, and that was the wrong thing to do. Don't kill Lehens and think that you can then take a dragon because of it. I know it looks like Lehens is a large portion of this team's engage, but that's not actually how that works, apparently. Apparently, Nasus, Nidalee, Tristana, and MF, they have plenty of engage just by themselves without the rel.
I don't know what gets Pete. It might be Canyon on Nidalee. It might be
no, it's Keen. It's Keen.
I hope it's
He
Keen.
picked Susan, and he won. It's very impressive. We're going to go to a short break. When we get back, the space is going to reveal Keen's POG, and then we'll have game number 2. See you there.
발길이 봤어. 발길 봤어.
두 마리 남았다.
아 이거 나 궁도
때려,
있게 이거.
괜찮아.
타워.
야, 페이스 물어도 돼. 페이스. 천천히. 빠지지 말고. 빠지지 마.
낙한 밀었어.
빠지지 마.
나궁 있다.
이거 나 텔로 올게. 저리 클릭.
야, 대리공 빼도 돼. 대리공 빼도 돼, 얘들아.
야 용가.
아무 있지.
야, 할만해. 끝낼만해. 해줄게. 꼴키나 높여.
제리 클린 좀.
시원하다잉. 제리 노공해.
제리 클린 좀 없어.
얘네 막을 힘 없어.
야, 대리 노공.
얘한테 수영만.
제리가 아파.
이거 제리
그냥 가버려 그냥.
오 마이. 오 나이스. 좋아.
잘했다.
This is my issue, is that I agree with you. I don't think it felt or looked great, but are you okay with Chovy just playing Corki?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I think
fair.
it's better than Canyon playing Nidalee again.
Well, that definitely, I'm with you on that one. And I also do think that the Corki isn't as mind-blowingly powerful as he had been in the past, even though his laning phase obviously is still very oppressive. He's really where Tristana was before, where hard to punish, good early laning phase, and scales into a big threat. It's going to be Viper Ashe. Most likely, could of course go to the light, but most likely going to be Viper picking up the Ashe here.
So that was the ban that they had last time around. They instead decide to pick it up and ban away the Nidalee. Means that Corki, like you were talking about, is now available if Chovy would like it, as Lilia, a consideration once again. This is something that I believe Canyon was trying in their matchup against KT, and it didn't quite work out as inspirationally as we were expecting it to. But it's still something that's trying to catch back up to the win rates of some of our other AP junglers, as a Ziggs pickup here is very early.
I have been very impressed mechanically with Pays, his Ziggs. I do think he looks very solid on the pick. And this has been something that they've gone to consistently into Ashe. Because Ashe obviously is a pick that struggles when you're playing into something that either outranges her, and she's a mobile. So come late game, if you're in an area and you don't have flash, at least if Pace hits it well, the outside of the ult is going to come through. I still think that it's most likely that is going to be a pickup. I don't know if it's going to be on third here, because maybe they want to get the Corki together with this Renekton and Lilia. It really is not as iconic as Nidalee Renekton, but it kind of plays to the same strengths as there is the Corki pickup instead.
Just a little bit of a Draven hover for now. I wouldn't mind it if Peanut did just go straight towards the Ivern. He's looked very good on the champion. And so it's not going to be Draven locked in or anything like that. That would be silly.
Well, it could be if you flex Ashe to support. I don't think you want to do that.
I mean, it could be, but that would be too many AD carries. It's just a lot of them.
Well, hey,
so this would be pretty well-rounded.
The comp pickness this time around. Chovy has a number of counter picks that he's liked to play into the Corki. Started off with Evolution. And we got the Draven. Got the Zeri in there at some point as well. Smolder is obviously one that has actually been rising in prio.
Yep. Tristana, you could just go back to again. Would not be too bad at all. And so it's going to be the Trist once more. Had a great game on it last time around. We'll see whether he can pick up a POG for it this time, or whether he is once again going to be robbed. Could be Canyon again if he has a good Lilia performance and match his teammate on 1,100 points. Him and Pays picking up that POG of the split would be pretty impressive. And next round of bans. So Rel going to be taken away, probably engage supports down the line here for both of our teams. Things that go well with Ashe, I think, would be some good options on the side.
I was about to ask
GENG.
for the Senna. So Senna Ziggs maybe? I think Kalista lanes are still strong, and GENG obviously have a composition with a lot of early game power, but Kalista does struggle into the Ashe. Can use Lance's counter pick if you do that. MF is another one that I think still has a ton of value, especially Leona again has been taken out of the game consistently by Hanwha.
Yep.
The pick gains a lot of value as well, and I think Pace played a clean game of it. And this to me is a bit of a hint towards that MF.
Yeah, the Braum pretty good.
Maybe they just... Okay, so that's going to be anyway. Maybe just pick a Rel here, and then last pick for Pace.
I mean, the Rel has been banned. The
Oh, yeah,
Alistair
never mind.
could be coming in for Lehens, sort of the other option. They could pick away Rakan if they feel like it. Or they could just take the Ziggs and then go for the counter pick in Lehens' court. I wouldn't mind it. Of course, Lehens does have an extraordinarily expansive champion pool. Feels like a Shen game to me for Lehens. I just feel like it's Lehens. That's what it's just often.
It's time.
Often it just gets there, you know, it just gets to the Lehens time.
And then if, you know, he can leave Pays, and if he's ever really in trouble, he can bail him out.
Yeah, there we go.
If it's really necessary. What are going to be the pickups here? Cannon, Gnar, Poppy could both be support and top. I imagine it's going to be for Doran here. So I've seen the Poppy kind of come up as a counter pick into the Renekton.
Yep. I actually really like adding that bit of extra beef into the front line as well. A true tank to the top lane. When Cassante is banned, it's hard to kind of find someone that's on a similar level. I think Poppy does kind of fit into that role relatively effectively. Just, is it Rakan? Is it going to be the Alistair? That's the question.
So it's
Never
Poppy
mind.
support,
It's just going to
yeah.
be the Poppy support and the top lane Kennen coming in here.
So Poppy does already gain value playing into the Renekton as well as the Tristana, but Lehens does have the opportunity to go for some pretty nasty disengaged setups here. Because looking at what Hanwha Life have, I think the engage is pretty lackluster. Like, yes, the flanks are good. Just going to be Alistair, so nothing too exciting here.
Yep.
Which-
Pole flash still possible into Poppy as well, so you do still have a fair few engage angles.
If they didn't go for Cannon, I think we could have seen something more creative from Lehens. But specifically into Cannon, I think Alistair just has so much value.
Yeah,
Between what most likely will be the exhaust, combine that with the fact that you can just headbutt him away.
It's a bit of a shame that we don't get Shen though, because Poppy kind of does a number on being able to, you know, shadow dash in.
You
Makes
really,
me a bit, I just really wanted, I wanted the
right?
Shen.
Yeah.
If I'm not allowed to have my Briar, then at least give me the
Hey,
Shens, you know?
What about game 3?
Oh, that's true. Nah, that's a singed. We have Briar singed in that one.
Nice.
That's the angle. That's if we get there, because of course GENG still have a lot of power in this draft. Life Esports with another shot on the blue side. This time around though, it's Peanut on the Ivern, and he is so good at this. Last time around, he got a POG, and Daisy also got a POG, which did happen off the broadcast and on Twitter instead. But that was
it was
very,
real.
very impressive. It was real. It was made by the same graphics team. It just didn't make it onto the main broadcast, so Daisy picking up that POG for that phenomenal performance. We'll see whether she has a good day alongside Peanut in this game as well. I do think that Life Esports have a lot more tools this time, and it's not like pick Corki Sejuani, have 0 permafrost synergy, and the comp looks a little bit disjointed. This feels a little bit more powerful. See what flavor of Kennen we're going to get towards the top lane as well, Chronicler.
Going to be interesting to see. A lot of AP here for GENG. See if that's enough to get them to do 0.
Exactly. Let's jump into the rift. Game 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, for what could be the last game of the regular season of this year. Kind of crazy that it's already almost coming to an end.
Yeah, isn't that insane?
No, it's kind of nuts. I'm not ready for Worlds to be like just around the corner. That is crazy.
We still have playoffs. We have our regional gauntlet.
Oh, that's true. Man, what are those games going to look like? That's the real question.
미니언들이 생성되었습니다.
The regional gauntlet has created some absolutely exquisite storylines
Has
over
it
the
ever.
years. A lot of them involving Deft, who will also most likely be...
It's like
Why is-
almost all of them, though, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, no,
there's-
it's 2021.
like it's Hanwha, it's
Yeah.
DRX. Now it's probably going to be KT because
Yeah.
they're likely to be losing in the first round of the
Yeah.
playoffs in Telecom War. And it depends. Of course, DK could choose to face off against KT. Don't know why they would do that when the known quantity is definitely B&K. But what you going to do? Teams have made very strange decisions in the past, namely teams called
Don't do
KT.
it. Don't, no. Had to bring it up.
Hey, look, I wonder if GENG are going to pick T1 just to prove a point. Maybe that happens. And then they're
That-
like,
I don't
CKT, it's fine. And then they lose too. Oh my god.
I don't even think that one is that egregious. Is Keen? Yeah, I was about to say, just gonna E out of this. Gonna be fine. But we have both junglers trying to sneak away as much as they can on the side of the jungle that doesn't necessarily belong to them. Canyon towards the bot side, as we do obviously have the lane swap. We haven't mentioned it just yet. And Ziggs, to me, as we have mentioned many a time on this broadcast, obviously should try to maximize the amount of plates. And guess what? A big wave stacking up towards the top side of the map. But Peanut can steal away very effectively. Smite's almost up.
Yeah, should be able to grab this one as Canyon going down pretty low. Keen will join them as there's the flash out from Canyon. Well timed there as well. Doesn't get stunned up as Lahans. He's going to have to flash as well. GENG members just burning summoner spells left, right, and center and not actually being able to get too much done as far as stealing away this jungle.
That was a good amount of experience, I think, dropped by Hanwha, though. So for Peanut, this is really good, as the jungle is retaken, and he's completely fine. Canyon's obviously going to be behind the curve a little bit, although he does hit free here, so not the end of the world. Pays throughout, or in the midst of that TP towards bot to catch the bot wave. And it does look like Doran actually sitting on a really big CS lead, so Keen, definitely the one who gets out of this the worst. And actually looking, all things considered, so Chovy won out. Pays did have to expend his teleport, so not going to have that available, but is 6, so should honestly be fine, especially with cookies still available. Lands level 1 right now.
Yeah, Hex Flash activation as well, guys. We have to remember. So he's already powered up. Delight moving over. We'll finally get down towards the bottom lane. Just checks out this brush for a few seconds, but it looks like they have just bought enough time as Peanut is making friends with Canyon's side of the jungle right now. As this controller does go in, they get full information as to what's going on here. Gonna take a little bit of time for that friendship to really sink into these camps. Might give Canyon an opportunity to get in there, but Smite is up here for Peanut. And so whichever is going to be contested, might just be able to take that one down. And look at this, Canyon is actually just leaving the area.
Yeah, successful high start from Canyon. You see Peanut as well. It's like, oh, Canyon actually getting, because he started on his own wolves, so he knew the respawn timer. That was able to pick that up here. And as a result, will not be falling as far behind as might otherwise have been the case. Problem for Pays here is that because of that TP, early TP, he hasn't actually been able to make his back.
Aha.
So he doesn't have a lot of mana, and Peanut is in the area.
Yep, there are a lot of brushes now behind GENG, as Pei's going to try and utilize them, now just waddling his way out of here. Headbutt will be able to get rid of Peanut, but this is also just going to be so many minions going missing.
Oh, Pays?
Oh, Pei's not going to find the satchel, unfortunately. Bowling Ball going to connect onto Peanut, as Lahan's still going to burn down. And Delight comes on in here just to try and protect his tree. Hanwha Life, they grab themselves first blood, and Peanut's out of there. Top of the morning to you.
There from Pays. If he knocks Peanut back in, that would have been the, or at the very least forced a flash from Peanut immediately. Not gonna happen, and it's Hanwha Life again, who in this early laning phase is able to build up a pretty sizable lead. I don't know what the wave state towards bot is. Doesn't look like Pays ended up missing out on too much CS. We take another look at this. Peanut actually doing a really nice job, and this is very straightforward. Like, obviously Peanut thinks that Pays has just made his way back and isn't currently in vision, and then he just keeps on walking.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that would have, again, I think it might have been the kill. At the very least, it would have gone with the flash. Right now, Peanut doesn't even have the flash, and unfortunately for Canyon, Lilia, she can be quite nimble, but not if you're rooted. So doesn't actually get to extend there, doesn't get to keep the passive stacks up and continue the trade. And right now, Hanwha Life off to another great early game, and we're not going to let that fool us, Atlas. We've seen this one before.
Yeah, we don't necessarily know whether this means anything, but it definitely means, at the very least, that Hanwha Life Esports are very good at navigating good early games. Not to mention, they're very good at playing around Ivern compositions. This is another one of the worries, right? Because Peanut, when he gets this champ, he tends to look pretty good. It's on that mandatory bans list that we often state for this team. So playing against Hanwha Life Esports when you're on the red side just gets that, that little bit harder. Now, Canyon going to be taking the first grub. Peanut in position. Arrow going to be soaked by the Alistair that doesn't have Unbreakable Will just yet. There's Delight going in, finds Lehens, lights him on fire, but I think that he will be able to get out of there. One grub picked up here by GENG, and I think they're going to have to be happy with that. Keen thinking about moving back towards the top side, instead going to go for a little bit of a back beforehand. And I think getting one of those grubs definitely feels pretty good for GENG when it was against the flow of play. Was
a pretty heavy investment from them, though. And it doesn't look like FaZe is really in a position where he's going to be able to leverage this into plates. So, and a push now. I think tried to maybe deny the cannon, but looks like Viper is going to be able to pick that one up after all. Viper doesn't have his ultimate, but it's still like if you're actually getting ult out, you're obviously not going to win the trade. Viper does his barrier as well. So FaZe, I think, very rightfully so, plays respectfully. GENG, on the flip side, will be able to pick up this dragon, which is, I think, a fine trade, given how the last game played out. They do need to hurry up. Peanut's on his way.
He is just going to lankily move on in here. That is going to be the Drake secured by Chovy somehow, as Delight gets the angle. Chovy going to have to flash over. The steadfast presence is so good from this Poppy, and Zeker is going to be able to get himself the second kill for Hummerlife Esports. Lehens might just need to sacrifice himself, does invest the flash, and will be able to buy enough time to get them out of there.
Yeah, that was about, what, 30 seconds of uptime on Lehens' flash before he has to use it immediately.
Value, baby.
As some Daisy micro doesn't actually get the cancel, unfortunately, there for Peanut. And really nice.
Oh, Keen, unfortunately, got a kind of caught on a flash there a little bit. He's going to press his Dominus, and it just has flash on cooldown now. It looks a little silly.
I missed what I imagine he tried to flash over the Shuriken so that he could set up the play, and then instead the Shuriken just hit him.
Well, Mega Inferno Bomb has come down. The arrow is going to go wide as now Lehens trying to get them out of there, but that is going to be a kill confirmed. Nicely done on the 1-for-1.
Chovy.
Kill going to Lehens isn't the greatest, but now Chovy coming on in here. Exhaust just to make sure that Delight's not going to have an avenue of escape, and the Pulverize to keep him in position. That's going to be another one, and Chovy on the board now for GENG, and that is dangerous for Hummerlife Esports as Keen just continuing to try and play the game.
Walk, walk.
Yeah, it's getting tough here as Canyon moving on in here. Quadruped comes down, gonna put the little Pikachu to sleep. Watch out, Eep, indeed. Canyon gonna be able to lock down that kill as well, and GENG all of a sudden back in it.
Oh, Doran might have wanted to flash preemptively there, because if Canyon ever hits you, you just die. I don't know if he could have. Maybe the best call was to just hold on to it there. But as soon as that tags you, you are just unfortunately going to get taken down with the sleep. Level 6 has been hit. And that is, again, a very similar sequence of plays in Spirit. So what happens is Hummerlife, everything's looking good. They even find a really nice player. Peanut unfortunately doesn't get it. I think it was like 4 health, so it was insanely close, which is how Chovy got it. Then a wonderful flash W from Delight. And everything looks great. The fact that they don't get another exit kill is a bit unfortunate. As we take another look at the play from the first-person view. Oh, yeah.
Man.
Pretty nicely done. So that's all great. But then they overextend, which you don't get to see, into a play on FaZe, who does actually delay. With his ultimate, also gets a substantial amount of the wave. And that does end up dying, but then already Lehens gets the kill onto Viper by keeping him in turret range. Then Chovy roams over, gets a kill, and then FaZe, to top it all off, TPs to mid to catch the wave.
And so it's a lot of money that just still gets picked up. So a little bit of a strange series of events. What it's going to result in is about a 600 gold lead for Hummerlife Esports as everything is said and done, but it's a Drake that goes over to GENG, and maybe they'd be happy to pay that amount for this Infernal, buying them that extra time. Next Drake going to be an Ocean. A singular Ocean actually doesn't feel too bad when it comes to singular Drakes.
Oh, it's nice. And any Swift Drift enjoyers?
Oh, that's me. Big time. Not a Drift today, but yeah, Swift Drift. We have had one already, and watching Lilia's run that fast is a whole lot of fun. As Keen will be able to clear out this ward, Canyon now knows that he is not going to be seen. Throwing bowling balls around, that was a weird one, just throws it into a wall. That's fine. Ward goes down, and he's going to see whether it can be 4 grubs to go over to GENG right now. You can see Peanut not quite getting there in time, as this ward will get turned off.
Just the one, I imagine.
Yeah, so Canyon going to be getting out of here. Chovy and Lehens moving on over. All right, some bowling ball value coming on in, as Doran not exactly with the highest of health bars. that this should belong to Peanut at this point in time.
You see as well, Viper was on his way over, and then as soon as Pace showed the bot wave, immediately decided the better of it is Pace is going to get the shove, and they're going to actually contest here. Pace does have his ultimate.
Ebapov does come in. The arrow is going to connect. The buffer is gorgeous once again. As the redemption coming down here. That is a dead cow and a dead Chovy as well. Viper just walks on over, and they will be able to take them both down. Plates now being eaten by Paze on the bottom side, but there's a teleport in from Zeka. Let's see whether Paze can keep himself alive here, because this burst damage is kind of obscene. There's the mini stun, as Paze, I think, is just dead. Mega Inferno Bomb comes down, and there's the last auto. Zeka's going to be able to lock that one up.
We'll see. Keen might not be able to get him. Look, Poppy's on the way. Oh, never mind. Another TP. He's dead.
Yeah, now he's very, very big dead. As probably didn't want to give Chovy the assist. He flashed it. And the explosive charge is not enough, so he's just going to back, and he's going to be fine. Keeper's verdict came out as well. I don't even think it was necessary.
It was not. Colossal wins here across the board for Hanwha, as they're able to pick up a bunch of kills, get to 4 grubs. The only thing they're going to have to give up is the dragon.
Yeah, Doran as well. Getting some plates here on this top side. Keen will eventually make his way in. Should be able to grab that cannon as well. It's going to feel a little bit better. But GENG, after they did have that wake-up moment, things have gone back to being a little bit rough. This is still going to be a second Drake that they're going to be able to pick up for themselves. It's going to be big, as Canyon is able to lock that one down.
Again?
And yeah, that's another Hextech Drake. Oh my goodness.
I know it's my favorite Drake in the game, but I was hoping for Swift Rift.
Yeah, Swift Rift would have been cool. But at least we get the fun teleporters and stuff, and that's cool.
I do love it when there's a cannon in the game. So,
yeah, he face checks, sees some bad guys, and he is going to try and get himself out of there. And we'll be able to hold on to this turret, at least for the moment. The gold lead that we were talking about before, that was triple digits, is now moved up to 4, as the arrow, not going to get buffered this time, but also doesn't really need to because he's underneath the turret. There's not a lot of follow-up. And Chovy will just absorb what experience he can, call in his brothers to come down and help him out. Doran going to be the benefactor of this, though, up in that top lane, not with too many cares in the world, as Peanut will move over to try and defend this. The redemption goes down. It's going to be avoided here. Doesn't really do anything, though, as Paze and Canyon should just be able to lock this one up. And the satchel will just come in and pop it like a balloon. Nicely done. Doran gets another wave and will finally be able to take down this outer turret in the top lane. But I would have thought that he'd be able to actually get that one first. And instead, it's GENG grabbing that first turret blood. So that will be able to get them back within touching distance, I guess, when it comes to those gold numbers. Let's have a look at this play one more time, though.
So in theory, GENG can fight this, right? They have a number of people, but Lance goes in way too early. That alone isn't enough, but yeah, even with the buffer, Lance just can't create space. And Viper, if he was still towards the bottom half of the map, could have been enough. The big thing here for me is that they're not actually, GENG isn't actually able to trade cross-map, really. Space ends up going down. Really nicely done by Zeka to move up there so that he gets knocked into the wall as opposed to move back. Because otherwise, that final auto might not have come through. Could have been the difference maker. And then here, the fact that he actually makes it out is kind of remarkable.
Yeah, I think they just kind of thought that they definitely had it.
Yeah, that's how we felt. So I think that is very understandable. That is now a 2K gold lead. Mid lane turret, I imagine, on the cards here, because yes, there is a Ziggs with great wave clear, but there is also a Herald, and Peanut, he's drifting.
He's going to be able to make his way in there, and there it is. This outer turret, not long for the world. So that is going to be Viper helping pick that one up. HLE doesn't survive for very long, but that doesn't matter. She did her job.
Okay, Hanwha, I want to get a game free. Come on, don't get GENG'd again. Make this a cool series that's going to build suspense for what will be most likely an inevitable matchup at some point.
This
most likely winners.
It will be a matchup,
but
at some
we're
point.
gonna see this in the playoffs one way or another. Even if we take into account like the craziest KT DK shenanigans timeline, even then, at some point we're going to see, I want this to go to 3 games, Atlas. I don't want it to be done. This is the last series, Atlas, of summer.
We need at least for Hammer Life Esports to not lose their first match in the playoffs. If they did that, that would be catastrophic, because then we won't get this.
Unless GENG loses as well.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. So that's fine.
Well, I know that, but I'm trying to build suspense. We
Oh,
don't have
sorry.
a lot going on, okay? We all know it's T1 GENG again.
Yeah, that part we just don't even, we try not to talk about. We celebrate the fact that we have a lower bracket now, so there's theoretically another final. All right, King going a little bit aggressive here, as Chovy going to jump in on top, and that was a flash that you could do. Not the greatest of ones, as Canyon's going to be over there anyway, so I guess the consolation for Doran is the fact that if he had have made that flash actually work, he would have still been really dead.
It's not the best day for Doran. And it's not a great day for Doran and his Yordles, unfortunately. First
Yeah.
Dinar, now the Cannon. Both of them have been on the receiving end of a lot of hurt. Hasn't really been able to make his mark. And I think Doran has actually come up with a great summer. There weren't a lot of exactly these moments. And unfortunately, in the final series, they are coming to fruition. However, Zeka and Viper in a really solid position. And actually getting on top of this backline is a nightmare. The only thing I'm worried about is that eventually there will be enough range with specifically the power of the Ziggs. Yeah, this play very straightforward, right? Doran's on the turret, feels safe, Chovy TP's in, Keen sets up the Strike Breaker, and nicely found W. And this is a big one, because if Pace gets Hectac Soul,
Yeah.
things become a lot harder for Humble Life. Because yes, you have a really good disengage comp, but if there is a 6-item Ziggs with, it's not going to matter. I don't think it makes a big difference.
It's just going to be a very rough time, as Lehens is taking a lot of damage. Chovy looking for a bit of an angle here, as that's 50 gold going over to Pays. Canyon is in the bottom lane. We'll be able to at least pull that wave out. As
Yeah, we're
now,
letting this one go.
yeah, it looks like this is not
Unless-
going to be the one that they're looking for. Still,
No, I think they're just threatening so that Home Alive don't send someone over too soon. And there we go, TP comes in.
yep.
Chovy gets some damage down, but not going to take the turret. Nice TP there from Doran.
All right, Canyon
But this
thinking
one-
about a little bit of an angle here, as they do have the option of putting Delight and Peanut to sleep. They're not exactly priority targets here, as Zeka is going to be able to help this wave move up. And by help this wave, I mean the wave isn't there because Ziggs. They're going to vacate, though, so that turret is not going to be here for very much longer. Still only 2,000 gold. I mean, this gold lead, it's so hard
It's
to
not enough.
extend leads against GENG.
No, I
I
know.
swear. Like, it's the most impossible task, because oftentimes you can find a few advantages and then you can use that to try and suffocate your opponent out of gold. It just doesn't work against GENG.
It's this Tristana, man. Because Tristana, you know, before was, again, a lane bully. But you can also just look at it as just another form of Ziggs. That you just, it's a Yorda, you put it in the side lane, and then it gets turrets. And it gets them very rapidly.
Yes.
Unlike Ziggs, though, Tristana's almost impossible to punish. And now Chovy said his 2-item power spike. So if you leave him alone with a turret for seconds, it is going down. And I mentioned the disengage your whole life, top tier. You have 280 carries, both of which are in a really good spot at the moment, right? 2-item spike, just not hit for Zeka. Viper, I imagine, is getting very close. Actually, kind of shocked that he hasn't finished his Triforce yet, even with the blade already being done, with how far ahead he is, but that's going to be a really big spike, so that's looking great. But outside of Delight, Flash Go, you don't have that much engage, right? Like, that's kind of the main thing, unless you can hit an arrow, but I do think that when there's an Alistar on the enemy team, when there's a Renekton on the enemy team, that is a bit harder. So you need to be to every objective first, and to their credit, they have been so far, which is why I think they've looked so good. Look at the control as well here towards that dragon. They've denied Soul Point, but after last game especially, I can't just help but feel that we're one mistake away from GENG somehow acing them, getting Baron and like free turrets and ending the game. And I don't want that to be the case. I don't like. It rubs me the wrong way.
And it's not how it should go. That's absolutely true. I feel like Humble Life Esports should have an extra mistake in them if this is going to be a loss, just because they have built up such a great early game so far. They also have an Ivern, which can really help delay things. And Peanut with his Redemption Moonstone, as well as the Oblivion Orb. Like, this is a big spike in power that he has available to him. As Daisy pops over the wall, they're not able to stop Lehens from going back home. And 2 minutes on this next dragon. That is likely the next port of call for things that could happen, unless Delight decides that he wants to kill someone right now. That is going to be Canyon tanking the first salvo. He's going to flash away. Light goes down to half health, but they get the flash out from Canyon. That's probably what they were looking for.
That's a really big win. They don't invest too much themselves, only using the Ignite and the Arrow, which both, or the Arrow at least will be up. But Canyon not having flash available, I think, is actually a really big deal.
All right, well, there is Lahen's making his way in. Good satchel there as well onto Viper. Mega Inferno Bomb to take him down. And now we're slicing forward. Keen looking for Peanut, doesn't get him, but they get so many flashes out of this play. Only Doran and Zeka with those available. Oh no, GENG, don't do it again. It's not Baron time.
I don't actually. This time, I think they really can't do it.
All right, well, maybe they just killed Delight instead, as the satchel was gorgeous. Still Delight making his move out, the flash forward, and Chovy says you are not getting away this time. Him and Pays, they're the yordles on this rift, and Doran, he's trying to get himself out. More explosive charges being thrown around, donated towards this little cannon. And let's see whether Doran can actually get out of here. Keen might be able to find a stun on top of him. The teleport will get him out. And GENG, I don't think they're going to be doing Baron, but they are going to win the fight.
Disaster averted, but still a very bad trade, because the one advantage you got there, immediately gone, and it's just a big mistake from Viper. Walking up to try and arrest Pays, even with the Ivan, that's one thing. But Lahens is right there!
Yeah.
That's an Alistair! And then, yeah, luck gets invested, but they get the kill. So it's 100% worth it. Now, what was a really big win. Again, I want to reiterate that, because no flash on Lilia means that it's so much harder to set up these aggressive sleep plays. Ends up being multiple flashes invested. Doran has to use his flash, which is a really big cooldown for the upcoming fight.
Okay, so Soul Point is being picked up here by GENG. Looks like that's going to be given up on, though, because Humble Life Esports trying to take this Baron. Chovy is almost here. But GENG, they're looking for a flank angle. They're going to try and get Keen in here. Yeah, and it looks like it's not going to be 50-50able. Especially with these minefields that can be put down, things like this. Is now Chovy going to try and transfer this into a push in mid as Viper once again caught out of position. Mega Inferno Bomb going to take him down. And GENG will have them corralled. Doran in trouble. It's Yordle v Yordle. And Doran will be taken out of this one. That is Chovy finding another reset. Hops back over the wall. Keen might just be dead, but they still have to try and flash away. Canyon walks forward, spins around a little bit. It was a cute pirouette, but now it's time for a cute Baron for GENG.
History repeats itself, Atlas. All GENG need are a single fight. And it looks like the Baron not going to go.
Not going to be Baron, okay.
But the Soul Point's still going to go. And I want to see, is it just the Blast Cone? It's Zeka. I think it's Zeka with the auto.
Wasn't it Doran? I feel like Doran did like a fadeaway auto on it. I don't know.
It was one of the two.
I don't want to give blame unless I'm entirely sure.
But regardless, that might be it.
Yeah.
That might be the game.
That is not a Blast Cone that they wanted to take.
Oh, and your Ashe as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't feel fantastic. So that is going to be GENG locking down Soul Point, like you were talking about.
Because I was thinking that it was like a Satchel or like someone on.
Yeah.
It was Zeka actually getting confirmation from Ox here.
Got
it was indeed. Yeah, I think it was the. Because the Corki looked like. I must have just been a misclick. And Zeka, I think, has been so much more consistent. So he's going to feel very bad about it. It's not done. They still have a gold lead.
Yeah.
Humble Life still have an amazing front-to-back teamfight composition, but if they do end up losing this game, those are the moments you're going to look towards. As now we are K-ramming Atlas.
Yep, Daisy is going to be taken down first, so it's an honest 5v5, not a 6v5. Humble Life Esports had access to before.
Oh, Pace. I know what he wants to get with this back.
I think he wants to go to the hat shop. Hat shop, maybe?
Oh, yeah. And get a cool, classic style, you know, none of that newfangled stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Good old classic
the
witch
wizard
hat.
cap. You love to see it. That is going to be completed now. See what house he's going to get sorted into as GENG will catch this wave. Life Esports have had a lot of control on this Baron side river, as the arrow going to be buffered there once again. Chovy has been excellent at that. And that was even with Keen kind of moving out of the way so that he had to do it quite late, but still. Nicely done.
Definitely the right call, I do think. If they turn on Keen, he's not that tanky.
No.
He is if he's, you know, if he's in the back line and he's queuing people and he's kind of moving
Look
in
at
and
his
out.
bargain bin.
Yeah, he's not actually finishing items, because items are not cool.
They're expensive as well.
They really are. And Chovy and Pace, they have money. Keen, unfortunately, a bit of a...
Yeah, Chovy's got, Pace has got a lot of money. That's, once again, like, it's the same build as we saw earlier with, but like just minus the tier.
Okay, that's just, I was about to say, like, are they just clearing? Which it is the case. That is going to make this a lot harder, because the zone control and the denial of area that GENG have is really big between the bowling balls and between the threat of this Ziggs and his E, his mining, or his mine rather. I want to look at the pressure that's being put on GENG here. There's going to be a turret at the very least to the outer. I don't think Humble Life rather really want to invest at TP, sending people over for the inner, but that's still more gold going in. And now it took GENG a lot longer, but the gold lead has been reclaimed. It's just slight, but they do have Soul Point, Atlas, and that is a pretty big deal when you have this combo of champions in Pace and Chovy.
It's gonna blow up a cupcake on his way out. Oh, that's very cute. Okay, yeah, I think nothing's gonna be decided until a Baron actually goes down. I think GENG have gotten pretty close, haven't wanted to risk too much. But Humble Life Esports, if they get the setup, they are still very dangerous. Having a look down the line, I mean, CS numbers still very, very even in the jungle. As, speaking of the jungle, Peanut could be in trouble here. Mega Inferno Bomb, and that is Peanut staying alive! Never mind. It's all too easy. Is Doran just gonna get jumped on? Oh god, that's a jump scare. It scared even me. That's a solo kill for Chovy. And sometimes you're just not allowed to be walking there.
Doran just wanted to help his buddy, man. He saw Peanut in trouble.
Yeah, I reckon, you know.
He just wanted to help.
And we know Valdez, he's from New York, and he knows that people are sometimes just walking here. And he was just walking there, but then he wasn't allowed. It's so unfair. It's going to be the Baron now started up. Let's see whether Humble Life Esports can actually find an angle here. There's a teleport up for Doran. That is a big deal because he might be able to affect this player's Keen. Already out of here. He's already teleported in as well. What? And he buffers the keeper's verdict. Are you kidding me? The Baron is going to be secured here by GENG, but now...
OTP.
This could be the TP angle as Keen. Mega Inferno Bomb. He's going to take him down in the turn. It was just not good enough. They take out Pace, but Chovy's like, oh, you want more, good sir? Yes. Don't mind if I do, as unfortunately Zeka a little bit too late to this one. So the Baron does go down, and Chovy showed us that you can indeed buffer a keeper's verdict.
Atlas, I have a feeling that Chovy will not be robbed in this one.
Not this one, yeah.
I don't think it's happening. Oh my god, Doran. The ward there, I think, being the big thing. Chovy averts his pathing. And then right here, it looks like Humble, maybe even Ankle Keen is out of the fight right from the get-go.
Oh my god.
Buffers the...
He rebounded himself off Baron's forehead so that he could stay there. That's what it looked like to me.
That's reverse bungee jumping, Atlas.
Oh.
And then, oh my god, the fact that Ivan tries to take down the Renekton, and then Pace gets the alley-oop from a distance. Doran, yeah, they use double TP as well, which means that they can't contest the Hextech Soul. That's Hextech Soul for GENG, and we were afraid this was gonna happen, and it happened right in front of our eyes, Atlas.
And the game 3 is slipping further and further away from us.
This was a 6-game day.
And instead, are we just going to be 4 gamers? That's not what we want on the final day of the regular season. And you know what, maybe, okay, playoffs can make it up to us, right? If we get only 5 gamers, then I will forgive you, LCK, for this day of not 6 games. That's how they'll earn it. Oh god, Zeka taking so much damage here. Lahens finds himself alone, and Daisy's getting annoying. A circle does come down behind them, but Life Esports do that walk strategy, and that is going to get them out of the way. This
Look at that!
is disgusting.
That's not fair!
What is going on? The Lilting Lullaby comes on down there as well as they're looking for Peanut, and they'll find him. Not able to buff for it is Chovy, so he's going to be traded. But look at the Hextech Soul, man. It doesn't matter if they lose multiple members. They still just can't stick around.
They're getting pelted by orbs and lightning.
There's
That's
so
not fair.
many orbs. You are so right about the orb problem.
Another orb!
Yeah, another orb. Zeka's going to have to go home. He's going to write an angry email about the spheres. All right, Mega Inferno Bomb, that's a circle. That's not an orb. It's still very scary, though, as Viper is going to get exhausted. That's not going to keep Lahens. Oh, never mind. It is going to keep Lahens alive, because, of course, it does. Viper is going to show mercy to his former teammate, as this inhibitor is also going to go down. So, GENG, 2 inhibs. Elder is going to be up in 4 minutes' time, but I don't know whether the game is going to be up in 4 minutes' time, because GENG really have put their foot down on this one.
Look at this.
Look at the fun and interactive gameplay that Life Esports are dealing with now.
That's after they have dodged, as Delight, again, he's trying so hard on this puppy, man. After they already dodged the Zigzag, which is supposed to be like the big thing.
Yeah.
That you dodge and then you're not in trouble. Pace has been so funny with these builds, man. Oh, just consistently using Keen and Lahens as a setup. They do the layup, he dunks it down.
I like to imagine that this is all based on the team having really good coordination and Pays being really good at pressing his F keys. So that he can always just find the guy that's talking so that he can just throw an ulti right on top of him.
It might be, I don't. It might be also that Lahens is just like yelling at him.
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Bro!
Yeah, bomb! Bomb, 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 bomb! Maybe we can, it might be on one of the shows later.
I hope so. I love
hear about it.
I love
mic check.
The mic checks us now. Homa Life trying to hold on. Do note.
We hex flash it. Lahens kind of regrets it. Or does he? Actually, I don't think so. As Daisy going to get a double knock-up. That was pretty cute. Redemption going to be avoided. Circle, a little bit less scary when it's coming from Life Esports.
There's no flank ward.
Or
we can't get a big door and flank. And look at this. Thank you, Observer, showcasing that the waves are shoving in. There's 2 supers in the bot wave. They have to be answered. And GENG can play it slow and steady. They're taking down the turrets is pretty good.
yeah. Yeah.
Tristana
a pretty good demolishing
Oh,
turrets.
Atlas. It's dire. It's dire. It's really not great.
And you're looking at this and you're like, oh, they lost an inner turret and like that's bad, but like they can hold on. They can't. Their base is already destroyed. And the thing is, it only gets worse because in under a minute, you've got the Baron coming up, and then a minute after that, you've got Elder coming up. And so this is the easiest time for you to possibly find a fight, as Chovy not going to risk it against Delight, actually showing him a lot more respect this time around, as you can see there.
He just got his opposition procced by a lightning bolt from Pays.
Oh no.
It's not good.
It's not very celestial of him. Mercurial Scimitar is actually already completed here by Chovy. He used it in the last fight to cleanse a Mark of the Storm stun. Doran managed to get out. Okay, Homa Life, they have at least exited their base somewhat. They've pushed out the bottom lane a bit. They might be able to team fight if the cannon can actually get there. Teleports at the ready. As GENG, they're going to start the fight. No Pulverize going to be found here as Lahens already going down low. The Redemption does a lot of work, and into the backline goes Doran. No exhaust to come in really at the beginning of that one, but still just no damage. And Chovy going to stand his ground. Look at the health bars. They are still up. They're alive, but it just feels like for not that much longer, the most dangerous cupcakes are raining from the sky. And GENG, they push them away, but not actually able to get any kills. Just almost every flash and summon a spell under the sun.
This is why we value Hextech Soul so highly. Every single time you can see the chip them. Ah, what? What? Yeah, it's level 18 Ziggs, Atlas.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Did he actually, was he in auto range for a short fuse? Was that what made him go boom? As, all right, Headbutt Pulve is going to connect there onto Doran. Mega Inferno Bomb comes down. Doran might want to... Oh, God! Thankfully, he's so short. He's able to walk underneath the bouncing bomb.
He saw it go above his head!
Yep, and I do have to let everyone know that even if he was a taller champion, it still wouldn't have hit him. That's just how the ability works, but that's still fine. It's what it looked like to me.
Oh, and wait, yeah, you have to, well, it's not gonna work, but you have to try.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta go for the cheeky Eld angle. This is the cheeky win the game. That's the strategy that they're looking for. Another teleport to come in, another teleport to come in as Canyon, watch out, Eep! And Zeka turns up almost dead. He does have to cleanse, but he can't cleanse death as the Nexus turrets are going to be going down once again. GENG looking like another 2-0 in the books here, and it's looking like they're going to successfully break their own record when it comes to game score as well. 32 at the end of this season.
If you took away the nameplates, I don't think many people will be able to tell you that this is the #1 against #2 in the LCK.
What would they say it is?
I don't know, Atlas.
Like 4 versus 5?
No, like 3 versus 9. Like that's how
you're saying the gap is quite wide.
I'm saying the gap is quite wide. I'm not slandering our teams. Although after that order from Zeka, maybe they deserve to slander a little bit, because you're gonna go back to that moment, and I'm going to be completely transparent.
Oh, the blast gun, yeah.
I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the game. I think that GENG right now, they're just on a different level. But if that auto didn't knock your immobile AD carry into the enemy team, it could have probably made it a little bit more manageable.
Well, Chovy, a lot of praise needs to be in the chat for him to be able to pick up this POG that we're kind of hoping he gets. This could be another Pays one, though. Oh, man. It's going to be hard for... I just really kind of want Canyon to do it, as Lahens, I don't think he made it to 5,000 assists just yet, but he will be very much just around the corner, as Chovy giving everyone a good bow.
Yeah, I don't know who is going to be between Chovy or Pays, but those two are, I think, definitely going to be the front runners. I don't think Canyon...
He had some smites.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good game. It just wasn't about him.
Chovy did buffer a keeper's verdict, and it looked like he rebounded off the backboard that is Baron's head. So that looked very, very cool.
What's even bigger to me is the fact that Pays and Lahens, as a duo lane, have grown. So I don't think this was Lahens' best day. Let me get that. I think he was fine in the second game. First game was obviously quite rough from him. But this bot lane have gotten so much better in the 2v2, and the fact that now we have added Ziggs to the line creates so much more space in what this team can do. And Hawa Life, unfortunately, it just feels kind of the same in that it's close, but at no point did it feel like they actually had GENG on the ropes.
No, and it was also a lot of the stuff that they really liked, right? Like, this is Peanut playing Sejuani and Ivern, two of his better champions. His early games looked great on both of them. The problem is that we had back-to-back Tristana into Corki matchups where the Corki wasn't able to find the value that he wanted to. I think Delight had a day out on both of his picks, although I guess the Rakan didn't feel that great, but his Poppy looked super good. And... like, this game as well, Doran, I think, had a little bit of a roughie, as he probably could have had a few better moments in this, but he was also just kind of denied any real access into this game after that first team fight was lost by Life Esports. And that is the thing that's so hard. It's you have to pass every single test, and there are like 11 different tests in every single game against GENG. And if you fail any of them, you lose. And if GENG fails any of them, they still win. Like, this is the thing that's really, really hard. It's like the deck is stacked against you in every match against this team. Unless you're KT.
Unless you're KT. Or DK, then you get within one game of beating them. Every time.
Yeah.
Somehow. It's GENG. This is exactly the type of performance you want to have. And outside of the Nessus, they didn't really give anything away. We've seen all of this already countless times for this team.
And they're going to count it down as Peanut. Yeah, he just explodes.
Their old teammate?
Yeah. Everyone's basically an old teammate, though, on this particular team. As Keen didn't do a lot of damage, neither did Canyon. It was all about Pays and Chovy 1,200 points, man. Imagine. I expect there is probably going to be a vote or two towards the Boom Boom, but it's got to be. Chovy can't be robbed in this one. And he's already won, right? Like, Pace doesn't need any extra votes.
I've tried to make sure that Chovy didn't get robbed. I did my part.
Keep the balance.
I don't know, whatever. I think, I'm never going to be mad about a Pace vote, Atlas.
It's true, and he did do a lot of the Boom Boom damage. Just to remind everyone, we do have full team interviews as well. It's going to be great to hear from absolutely everyone from our top 2 teams heading towards playoffs. This game was all about just trying to see what we had in store for us in the playoffs. And if we get more of this, I'm going to be pretty excited.
GENG in finals.
Yeah,
that's what we
are you looking forward to how T1 gets there? As now it's time for us to throw it over to the space for them to break down this 2-0 for GENG.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Jason for the post-match interview translation. And first up, we are going to be joined by the entire GENG players as they close out the summer regular season. Please welcome Keen, Kenyon, Chubi, Pace, and Leehan. Congratulations on the win today. Thank you. To start off, Keen. It was the first and second place showdown as the last match of the regular season. How was it? I think we are ending the season on a very good note with a clean 2-0. It feels amazing. And in that series, in the first game, you brought out a pocket pick, Nasus. And finally, he was able to get a win after more than 2,000 days. How did it happen? Well, we were not actually planning for a Nasus game, but somehow we were in the situation where Nasus could be viable, and we shoot our shot, and it kind of worked. And your first championship in the spring finals is still fresh in our minds, but what are your thoughts and resolution heading into summer playoffs? Yeah, winning my first title in the spring finals was amazing. I hope I can repeat it. Now moving on to Kenyon. Today we are going up against Hana Life, a team you might face in the playoffs as well. What did you and GENG focus on while preparing? We wanted to analyze what kind of play Hana Life prefers to make, so we wanted to kind of come up with the right reaction or right kind of play to deal with those. And you also won a POG on Nidalee, and your Nidalee now have a 10-1 record here in the summer season. What was the synergy with Nasus to get together today like? It was easier to lend my spears because of the wither. So GENG has about 10 days left until your playoffs match. How do you plan to prepare? So we are heading into a new patch. So we have about a 10-day period. So we will make sure to come up with the best strategy and kind of drafting with the new version of the patch. Now moving on to Chovy. Along with winning the final match of the regular season, GENG also set a new LCK record for the game score. How do you feel? Of course, winning feels amazing. Also, I heard that we broke the record about game differential, but it doesn't really have much to do with our ultimate goal. So I just want to keep moving forward. GENG picked up a solid 2-0 win up against Hana Life today. What do you consider to be GENG's biggest strengths right now? I think all 5 players are good at League of Legends, and we are all on the same page, so map play and macro decisions are also one step ahead of the opponent. Also, our team fight is so on point, so I think everyone is so well-rounded, and that is our strength. Then what is GENG's goal this playoffs? So we managed to write new history by winning 4 straight titles in a row. I hope we can continue that to 5 titles.
이어서 페이즈 선수 만나보겠습니다.
Now,
페이즈
let's hear
선수,
from
이번
Paige.
서머 시즌 페이즈 선수에게도 굉장히 뜻깊은
This
시즌이었을
summer
것
must have been
같습니다.
meaningful for you
LCK
as
1000킬을
well. You reached
달성하시기도
1,000
했고요.
kills
또
in the
플레이어
LCK and
오브
also
더
won the
스플릿에
Player Up the
선정이
Split
되시기도
award.
했는데요. 정규 시즌 돌아보면 어떠셨는지
Looking back, how do you feel?
이번 정규 시즌 내내 뭔가 게임이 잘 되는 느낌이라서
I think throughout the entire regular season, everything went so smooth. So I had so much fun, playing the matches, and
오늘 경기는 또 1,
it's
2위 간의
amazing that I get to also hit a lot of milestones.
생각이 드는데요. 어떤
Today's match was,
포인트를 두고
first place versus second place. So what were the key points that you focused on? As a bot lane player, I focus on the bottom lane matchup, and I'm happy with how it turned out. Then, what is your mindset going into the playoffs? So we are going to be playing on a new patch, so I think finding the right tier list will be the key. I hope we can do our preparation correctly and continue the momentum and great form in the playoffs too.
마지막으로 리엔즈 선수 만나보겠습니다.
And last but not least, Lihan's. How do you feel about the 2-0 win up against Hana Life?
하나생명이 최근에 강한 기세를 보여주고
Recently,
있어서
Hana Life showcased a great momentum, so I was a little nervous heading into the match, but it feels amazing to get a 2-0. So, with the playoffs approaching, how much confidence have you gained throughout the regular season? To be honest, same as usual, because playoffs is a whole new kind of tournament. So I think we have to, be fully prepared and, still play with our confidence. So you are just 5 assists away from achieving the milestone of 5,000 assists in the LCK, becoming the first support and only the second player in the LCK history to do so. Well, I guess I've been playing for such a long time, but I think we will keep working hard and doing our best, and I will look forward to our fans' continuous support. And before we go, Lihan, as the team's captain, anything you want to say to the GENG fans? So we are, continuing a great run, but personally, myself has a long way to go. So I will keep working hard. Also, I will be looking forward to the fans' continuous support as well. Thank you. One more time, congratulations on the win today, and I will look forward to seeing your performance in the playoffs as well. Please welcome Doran, Peanut, Zeka, Viper, and Delight, who have been working their best until the very end of the season. Thank you so much for joining the interview, and please give them a warm round of applause.
네, 도란 선수 먼저 이야기 나눠보도록 하겠습니다.
도란.
자, 오늘 이제 정규 시즌
Now,
마지막
today
경기를
marks
마무리하셨고요.
the last
2위로
day
최종
of the summer regular
마무리하셨는데요.
season,
소감 들어보고
and
싶습니다.
Hana Life secured second place. How was today's match, and how was the summer season? So we just had our last match right before the playoffs, and I wish we could have won the final match, but sadly we were underperforming. I'm not really happy with how it turned out.
정규 시즌 내내 정말 좋은 모습들 많이 보여주셨는데
However, your regular season performance was so on point. So what areas would you like to improve as you head into the playoffs? What stands out the most is, some of the mistakes that I made in the series today, and I really have to get rid of those mistakes.
더 멋진 모습 기대해 보도록 하겠습니다. 여러분 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 피넛 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
Now
자,
moving
피넛
on to
선수 정규
Peanut.
시즌 마지막 경기를 마치셨습니다. 1, 2위 대결이었기 때문에 더욱더 중요한
Today's match was the final one of the summer regular season, and it was first place versus second place. What did you focus on the most? Pretty much everything, Today was a very important match, and what happened is what happened, And this match didn't really have anything to do with our final standings, so I hope everyone can just move on, not to rethink about what happened today too much. And I think based on the mistakes and weaknesses that we displayed today, we will be able to kind of improve on those aspects and come back with a better performance in the playoffs. Then looking back at the summer season, what stands out the most to you? Well, this summer, I think everyone worked so well and played at their best level. So because of that, we were able to secure second place already, even before the match today. So I think everyone did their best, and I believe, you know, regular season and playoffs is a whole different tournament. So you really have to do your best in the playoffs. So I want to make sure to, you know, advance as much as possible in the playoffs.
이어서 제카 선수 만나보겠습니다. 자, 제카 선수 정규 시즌 마무리하셨습니다.
And now Zeka.
돌아보면 좀 어떠신지
The summer season has come to an end. How do you feel looking back at the season? We had so many stuff happening starting from the first week, but I think we were able to kind of close out the regular season on a very decent note. So I want to say good job to everyone. You guys also have long days until the playoffs, so what are your expectations? Whoever we get to face, we still have to kind of display the best performance we've got. So as we go back to the team house, I want to kind of go over to the match we had today and trying to spot any mistakes and weaknesses that we showed and get rid of those. Now, Viper, how do you feel looking back on the summer season? I think it went by really fast. Thankfully, I was able to play with such a great teammates and had a great time together. Everyone is so good at, you know, good at it. So I hope we can all keep up the good work. So Hana Life finished the regular season in second place. What are your goals heading into the playoffs? So regular season just ended, but playoff is just about to start. So we have to wait and see who our opponent will be. But whoever it's gonna be, we have to play better than we did today. I hope we can do better than today for sure.
그리고 딜라이트 선수 만나보도록
And then
하겠습니다.
moving on to
딜라이트
Delight.
선수 정규 시즌 마지막 경기를 마치신 소감 먼저 들어보겠습니다.
You just had your last match of the regular season. How was it? Too bad that we lost the last one, but we have time to kind of go over it. So I hope we can come back stronger for the playoffs. You've been exceptional all season long with your flawless initiation. What can we expect from you and Hana Life in the playoffs? We will make sure to come back with a cleaner performance, you know. I hope we can get rid of all of the mistakes that we made throughout the regular season. And finally, as the team's captain, Peanut, anything you want to say to the Hana Life fans before we go? Thanks to you guys, we were able to have a great run throughout the summer season despite the bad start. So I really appreciate your continuous support. Thanks to you, we are ending on the second place, and we are, you know, having a head start in the playoffs. Actually, we're starting from the round 2, and the season is not over yet. So I will look forward to your support, and we promise to also showcase the best out of the Hana Life. Now that will be the end of the post-match interview from the Hana Life Esports players, and back to the space. Thank you.